do they automatically come in now?
They should be automatic.
Oh, it's a lot.
Hey, there's Doug Nash.
Yes.
Hey, Doug.
Hello, everyone. We are going to start very soon. We're just waiting for people to be admitted.
Hey, Neil.
Quite a few people. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Min.
Hi. Nice to see familiar faces.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
I'll pin myself.
Hey, Thea.
Hi.
Hi, Drew.
Hi, Peter.
Hey, good to see you, mate.
How you going? Yeah,
I'll
good.
turn off my mic. I'm somewhere loud.
Family
I'm just having my first dinner out in ages.
Well deserved.
Okay, I think we can start. We already have 125, 6, and it's growing fast. Unbelievable, amazing. So, hello everyone. My name is Oya Demirbilek, and I'm a professor of industrial design at UNSW. And on behalf of the industrial design program, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you joining us today. And when I checked this morning, we had 600 plus attendees in LinkedIn and many from overseas, and we are very excited about that. So welcome, and thank you for joining us for the launch of our talk series, Stories Behind Products. So we are expecting these talks to be quite fluid. The audience can ask questions via the chat. We could try the microphones and see if it works, but you can also ask your questions at the end. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Mariano Ramirez, the Program Director for Industrial Design at UNSW, and he will give a short opening speech. So Mar, over to you.
Thanks, Oya. All right, can you tell me if you're seeing my slideshow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mar, yep.
Okay. Yeah, good evening to you all and welcome. I hope you're all having a good day wherever in the world you might be. In behalf of the Industrial Design Program at UNSW, we are thankful that you are joining us all here tonight. And just before anything else, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the First Nations peoples of Australia as the traditional custodians of the lands on which we work and live. I pay my respect to elders past and present. I recognize their continuing connection to the land, winds, waters, and community of this country, as well as their enduring cultures which deepen and enrich life on this continent. Australia was and always will be Aboriginal land. So from the registration list, I became aware that 70% of the attendees are not from UNSW and over 350 of the registrants are from overseas. So let me first just quickly introduce the University of New South Wales. So our university was founded 72 years ago as a public funded university in Australia. And in the latest world ranking of universities, UNSW was ranked number 43 in the world. We are one of Australia's most research-intensive universities, and our university has partners with over 300 higher education institutions, enabling UNSW students to engage in many opportunities for international exchange in 43 countries. And of the more than 63,000 students at UNSW, 36% are from overseas. So 19 years after UNSW was founded, the university offered a one-year graduate diploma in industrial design, which is the first postgraduate industrial design program in Australia. And during this first year, the program had an intake of 10 students. And in 1977, industrial design subjects became a strand within the 4-year Bachelor of Science in Industrial Arts, which was a program for training high school teachers in design and technology. In 1982, a new one-year Master of Science or Master of Industrial Design was offered. And at the same time, the graduate diploma that was first offered in 1968 was then discontinued. And in 1990, that was when we welcomed our first students in our new 4-year Bachelor of Industrial Design program. And this is the historic event that we are celebrating tonight. We had our first undergraduate conferrals in 1994, and in 2006, our program, our postgraduate program was discontinued after 24 years and after producing 139 graduates. And then 2 years ago, our 4-year Bachelor of Industrial Design program became a 3-year program with an optional honors year. So over the last 30 years, industrial design at UNSW has produced 1,207 graduates, or 1,209, sorry. And 80% of these were from our 4-year Bachelor of Industrial Design degree. And 8% came from our new 3-year undergraduate program, and 12% was from our postgraduate degree, or the Master of Industrial Design or Master of Science by coursework, which, as I mentioned, was discontinued in 2006. And of those 1,209 graduates, 69% of them are Australian residents. 10% of our graduates come from China, 4% from Indonesia, 3% from Singapore, and the remaining 14% are from 29 other countries. So many of our graduates have been employed in some of the most highly regarded industrial design consultancies and well-known manufacturing companies in Australia and overseas. And several of them have become entrepreneurs and founders of their own startups. A good number have risen to senior leadership roles such as design directors or senior industrial designers. And many of them have also won international awards in design excellence, including our speaker for tonight. So the corporate logos that you see on the screen give a small snapshot of the numerous companies that our graduates have been employed in. I commend our graduates for their success in their careers and thank them for bringing pride to our industrial design program at UNSW through the excellence that they have shown in their work. And over the 30+ years of our history, we have been fortunate to have had 16 full-time academics, several adjunct academics, and many casual academics, all of whom have worked passionately to guide, shape, and in many ways, design the industrial designers of the next generation, who in turn will be shaping a better world, a better tomorrow for all of us. So we currently have 6 full-time academics shown here in color. So myself, Oya, Christian, Miles, Gonzalo, and Daniela. And our undergraduate program was first led in 1990 by our foundation head of department, now Professor John Redmond, ably succeeded by Lance Green, Jonathan Talbot, Stephen Ward, Oya de Merbilek, Miles Park, Christian Tietz, and now I have the amazing privilege of leading this world-class industrial design degree program. So that was our 30 years in a nutshell. And just before I end, I would just like to acknowledge and congratulate our second-year student, Josephine Collins, who designed the logo that you have been seeing in the past few slides. Thank you, Josephine. And finally, in celebration of our 30+ years, I would like to formally launch our new talk series to become known as Stories Behind Products. And I would like to personally thank Drew Wahlberg, our graduate who now runs his own design practice in Denmark, for agreeing to be our first storyteller in this series. Congratulations also to Drew for winning gold in last week's Good Design Australia Awards. And I now invite Professor Oya de Merbilek again to formally introduce you. Over to you, Oya.
Thank you, Mar. Yes, as Mar mentioned, our program has been in existence for more than 30 years. I'm just sharing my slides now. There we go. There we go. Can you see my slide? Yep, okay. Oh, yes, so the program has been in existence for more than 30 years, and we thought it's quite fitting to have a talk series to celebrate that. And tonight we're starting with Drew Wahlberg, one of our alumni, and I've just lost my notes. There we go. Okay, so why did we think about a talk series? We thought that it would be a very nice way to strengthen our network here in Australia of industrial designers, but also around the world. And we're so pleased to have so many of you joining us for this occasion. So Drew is a very well-known industrial designer in Australia, but also in Denmark. And he's an industrial design honors graduate from our program. He is the CEO and founder at Details by Wahl&Ross, and also senior industrial design consultant for Breville and Sage Appliances. And before that, Drew was the chief industrial designer at the Danish Technological Institute and a product designer at Breville Australia. And his very first job was with Lego as a junior designer. And I do have very fond memories of Drew. And this is because he was among the first student cohorts when I migrated to Australia. And I recall his second year, one of his second year project, and I hope you don't mind, Drew, me sharing this image with everyone. Yes, this was a product semantics project where Drew just designed this exquisite little, it was a box for a ring, and he did this exquisite model. But to do this model, he did an iteration of all these shapes and forms that you can see here. All these trials. Andrew tells me that he's still working that way. So, and I only captured a few of your models, Drew, that day. There were many more sitting on the table. So I will now hand over to Drew, who will talk about the Wahl&Ross Sanitiser Dispenser. And as Mar said, the product has won an Australian with Design Awards. So we have to congratulate the whole team at Wahl&Ross, which is Drew Wahlberg Rosskelly, Maria Wahlberg Rosskelly, Kurt Bouvy, and Charles Boyle. So over to you, Drew. I will stop sharing.
Okay, great. Thanks. I feel honoured and a little bit nervous now after seeing all these faces that I recognise and respect so highly, and all the Australian design industry. It's fantastic to be given the opportunity today to present. So thanks. So I guess first we can just start with a little bit about the product. So I guess if anyone that hasn't seen it before, I'll start sharing screen. I'm going to run today on 2 devices. I'm going to be on my computer and on my phone, so I can give you a little live tour in our office. So just give me 1 second while I share the screen. Can you see this now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so here we are. So for anyone, this is our product. This is our Details Hand Sanitiser Dispenser. We've entered a product area that I consider quite an unsexy category altogether, to be honest. It's traditionally this area is bathroom style products, but everyone knows what's happened the last 18 months, and we've had to have a whole change in the way we deal with hygiene. And so we've seen we've tried to actually, there was an opportunity. We want to try and find a better solution to things that existed. If I dive back a little bit, I'd like to just firstly introduce myself and the team. I come from a small country New South Wales property where I grew up with my father as a builder, and my mother had a lot of jobs, from being a school teacher to a aerobics instructor, many things. And you can see where I grew up, there wasn't many neighbours. And so ever since I was a little kid, I just always loved inventing and making things. And that was kind of the background of me. And I think the first Australian Design Award, I went back through some things, and I think I entered it in when I was 12 years old, and my mum typed up the application with a typewriter. So it was quite nice for a new type of water bottle. But anyway, if we sort of jump forward right now, what we have here, as you said, I work for a few of those different companies over there, Lego and Breville, and we have a lot of good friends at each of those places. And now we still work with people all over the world. We have our own design consultants here, Wahl&Ross. So I'll just give you a little just show of the team. Can you see my camera here? Here we are. This is our team in our office where we are now. I guess you can see here. So we've got Charlie and Charlie, Maria, Julia, and now this is our little team here in the office. And I wanted to show the team now because I think what's really important to me is having a team and like people behind you. And and kind of that was where the whole product started. So like as we just jump into, you know, with our projects, with all our projects, we always have a process in our company, which is this. I wanted to, you know, concept, feasibility, design, quotation, design, refinement, and production, sample, and refine, mass production. But what I'm going to show you today, the reality is there's a lot of this design where we actually do sketch. We're always solutions driven, and solutions driven by sketching, making models, and doing CAD. And what I find is this process just goes around and around and around until you work through a lot of different problems until you find a solution. The start of the story of Details Dispenser is Denmark closed down can you hear me still? Oh yeah. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. So Denmark closed down. I did what you know, what everyone shouldn't do, and I went out and I bought toilet paper. It's what no one should do, but yeah. And then we needed to actually find a solution. That's why I jumped straight into the team. And I thought, okay, now we're locked down. What are we going to do? We got to come up with something that can help people here in the situation that we're in. And so we started coming up with lots of different ideas on products that we could do and things and ways we could help. And we came down to the idea would be that we could actually help with this need for hand sanitization and hand sanitization in many different places. And this was something that wasn't around before. And actually, one of the things that we did very first, after, of course, setting up a home office and have everyone on board, was this is one of our early sketches. We actually called an expert. So we couldn't go out and do normal research, what you could do if you were, you know, doing a product now where you'll go out and you'll start talking to all these different people in different places and you can start meeting users. This wasn't possible when coronavirus came, and it became this whole new way we had to think about with designing a product. And so the very first thing that we kind of did after diving into things was I called an expert, John, from my hometown in Nara, who's been doing hand sanitization products for 30 years. And he was very, very helpful for us in terms of like defining what we could do, like both now in the corona situation that we're in, but then also like defining what the need was in the market from before corona, and trying to find actually designing a product that could actually be used after a corona. And I think that's something we've done quite well. Like one of the very first things that John talked about was trying to reduce single-use plastics. And that's actually been one of our driving factors in the product from the start, to make the whole system refillable. And that's the reason that we ended up with the system we have today. I think you can see this behind me. Can you see this, or you're okay? Or... anyone who hasn't seen the system in whole, basically it has this refillable bottle, and what we're asking people to do is actually to keep this bottle and refill it, and we have a refill station, a refill system that we've designed to go with it. And then so the system is quite simple, and right now everything works fantastic, but that process has been a long and hard process of making continual prototypes, sketching, CADing, making, sketching, CADing, making, you know. So I just would drive into just some of these early first CAD models. Unfortunately, a lot of the sketches I've threw them out, to be honest, and I know it's not the right thing to do, but we had a lot of moving also in the last year, and I didn't keep it all. But making at the start, we started out with, you know, these really simple printers. So like we had to set up with these cheap printers at home that cost not very much money, and this small CNC machine. And we sketch things and we CAD it and we make it. And that's the process we go through. We go in really early and we make, you know, first prototypes. We actually thought with this that we could take something that we've done before and like look at doing like simple electronics, simple motor drives. We thought, okay, we can nail this project really fast and get onto the market really fast. And we thought, you know, we'll make this electronics with this motor and this little sensor. And, you know, this is our small team back then. And we're like, okay, things are going well. You know, we've got a little motor drive system here. And then the very first thing we've done is we made something which we thought would work. And as you can see in this little video, it didn't work. So it didn't work. That's the honest truth. So what did we do next? We make another one. It worked a little bit, but not that well. So this is another prototype. And then we made another one, and with a few different changes, and it actually did work. Like, we got something working here, and we could actually be pumping, and these were all 3D printed parts. So doing it at home, still in lockdown. And, you know, we got something that was a very simple pump motor drive system that did work, and this bottle could come out, and, you know, it actually worked. So at this point, we do have some, you know, some patents around. We started doing some IP around our system and everything, and we could start applying and thinking, hey, things are going well. Like, we could get this on the market pretty fast. I started going through some things yesterday, and I found like an old video of me at this point of time, and maybe I'll play it just quickly. I don't know if you can hear the sound or not on the video, but I can skip through it pretty fast, I think. But, you know, at this point I felt, okay, I've got these. Why do one unit when you can do two? Why go for just like one? I thought, so originally we had a round unit and we had a long one. And I thought the round one would be quite nice in this wood, and could be this feature when you come into a building and people could recognize it. And this would be more of like a stop symbol, and then the other one could be recognized. And then we had some market research, and people thought, hey, that could be great because you'd use it for hand sanitization, you could use it for soap, and we thought we could keep our same pumping parts of the product. And I felt at this point we were actually, you know, getting pretty close at being able to go to tooling. The reality, but was very different. When we actually get our products, like and I get our first version of electronics, we realized we're not close. We're actually a long way away. What we didn't allow for, what we didn't think about, is these sensors that you get, they don't work very well. Like, we thought we could just get a sensor from, you know, going on to the market, going on to suppliers for sensors, and it just kept failing. Like, everything when and I think people discover that in the products that you've seen that were out in, when the very first dispenser, some of them you put your hand under and it doesn't recognize your hand, and you put it in again and you go, oh, why doesn't it work? Like, why won't it recognize your hand? And basically they're simply, a lot of them, they use IR light and they need to reflect, and they don't reflect very well, or they reflect the sunshine, or they're based, like, some work really well and some don't work really well. But the sensors electronics, it needs a lot of work. And we realized we could have launched an inferior product at this point in time, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do a product that would actually last a long time. So we had to go back to the drawing board and start to think about this again and think, we got to design a product that's going to last years. We don't want to do something that's just here today, gone tomorrow, gone in the garbage bin, throw it out. Like, we really believe in everything we design has to last. So we started again. At this point, you can see I'm actually at home on the kitchen bench, and I know it's a mess, and Marie doesn't like that I show our house in it, but the reality, and my Corona haircut and all here, I think, but the reality was, I like to show, like, you know, you're at home working, and you're working on it night and day and night, until you get absolutely exhausted. So by this point, I was I'd had so many sleepless nights. We started looking, like, the other products are all coming out now on the market. You know, things like this is like 55, 143 RMB. Like, the other products are starting to come out and fill out the need that we have, like, for having these bathroom style products, but in the entrances of buildings. The suppliers around the world are coming up with other ideas. We're not the only one innovating this area. So I thought it was interesting to slow this show. So, okay, this is kind of what's happening. We, at this stage, thought, okay, we could do like take one of these technologies and then, you know, basically make it look pretty. We tested a lot of stuff and we tested and tested and tested. And for us, nothing worked well enough that we could feel proud that we knew it could go on the market for a long time. And we knew we had to design something better. We just like, we tested all these products and we could see that things didn't last as long as we feel they should. So so we went back to, we were here designing, testing, doing these things in a lockdown period where you actually have an engineer on a phone. I thought it was interesting to show this. So we're hooked up like with a laptop where we're doing the firmware, so the software of the sensor remotely, where I'm in one place and he's at another, and we're designing a product remotely. So it's kind of like a new way of doing things, but it was actually really efficient. It was like we didn't have to meet up in person and do things. We could just tap in wherever we are in the world. We could just do hardware, software remotely. And I thought, okay, this is pretty exciting. So we design it and we make our own PCB. So here we are, we actually start producing parts ourselves and doing our own PCB design and soldering all the elements together on the PCBs. And the so all of our electronics we design in-house, and we make all the first pieces in-house. So it's back to that same, even with electronics, it's sketch, CAD, make CAD, sketch. We still keep doing this same process all the time, whether it's in a mechanical structure or in a electronics. But so feeling pretty happy here. We've actually got our full samples back and working, and we feel we're pretty good. Let's go to tooling. So we design all the tools. We design all the things for injection molding, and you know, we're feeling that we actually in our business we go into designing all the tooling close to our suppliers, but with the guys that are making the tools. But we design all of the cavities and the movements and all the tool design, how things work, and we design that right from as soon as we start designing parts for any project. I thought, like, at this point, actually, I might actually like to maybe take you for a little tour first and show you something around the tool part, because I think it's kind of interesting, because like it's so much work to get a design to this gate. And I know everyone who works in the industry knows how important the design freeze thing is and to go to tooling. So I just thought maybe I could just show you how it is. If we hey Charlie, could you help me a second? Is it okay, Oya?
You've got to change the...
Yeah, sure. We have to remove the pin. Yep.
Yeah, so you can see me?
Yep.
Okay, so firstly, let's just start here, Charlie. So a little tour of the office. I just thought what we just talked about, that design, sketch, CAD, make. Here we actually are. You can see here, this is some of these earlier prototypes that we talked about. So we've got this whole first concept where we had this, like, you know, quite simple electronics, and we've got, you know, this whole process where everything's 3D printed or made or CNC'd, or we even went in, like, for our other bottle, we got some parts blow molded so we could actually start making these round versions and these long versions of the product. And you know, right very early, we're all about this keep me bottle, because this is where we feel that we could stop this consumable waste happening with the single-use plastics. We'll come back to the other parts here a little bit late as we get moving forward. But you can see here, these are our first electronics that we actually made. We can see I just showed you some of the soldering, and we solder all the parts here on the PCB. And over to the tooling. So you see here, Charlie. So if I this is kind of, you know, we get quite proud at this point that we actually have parts of a product that we design all the elements, and we get down to these injection molding parts. And maybe you can recognize that's the rear part of our housing of our product. And these here are our big blocks of steel that we use to injection mold plastic into the parts. And we have our side cores and side cores and angle lifts and ejector pins and everything. So just to give you a little insight, and this is actually not all the tools for this product. There's actually a fair few more tools in this, but I just thought, these are some of the elements here, and this is obviously the other part of our dispenser. This is our front hood. So if I just show the two parts in reality, over here we got this is this component here, which as you see here, and this is the rear housing. So at this point, okay, we've gone to tooling and we think, hey, we're so close. But we'll go back to the other side. The reality. Okay. Reality is, we think we're close, but the design process will always tell you that you're not. You actually need to keep working long and hard, especially if you want to try to get a product out into the market in a short amount of time. At this point, we've gone to tooling in around 6 months. So like for a new product development, we consider that quite short time with so many components. But we wanted to try to get on the market so that we could help people with the corona situation as good as we could, and have these dispensers as being an alternative to what there is out there at this point in time. So, one second. Oh, here we go. So, all right, a little bit more on the story. As we've gone to tooling, we start making some color options, and what's kind of pretty, and as people, we all love as designers to get into this part of going down the details and having nice textures, surface and finishes and that of a product. And so these are all computer animations at this point in time. Key shot render. This is actually not a key shot rendering. The last one, this is the reality that we've actually made behind the scenes is a little model at home. Part of the process of making a product is really making a product. So like we couldn't get anyone to make all of our wooden covers for us. So what do we need to figure something out. So bring in the machine. So this is actually at my home, not in a lockdown anymore, but we couldn't get anyone to make these wooden parts. So I CNC'd into our garage a CNC machine. So thanks to Maria, my lovely wife, for letting me do this. So I guess the fun part is, it's if you can't find a solution, figure it out. Like there's a so it was a kind of a difficult time, because it was not only can you not travel. Before Corona, you would be able to like travel to suppliers and go to places, and we could use some of our different people we worked with in wood before, but then we couldn't, and we had to just buy a machine. So we did, and I guess, but we actually got that whole thing working, and we started making all of our electronics. These are this is Kurt working hard making like certain soldering things, and we're start machining parts and making all these different elements all come together. So we got stuff off the tooling, and we're starting to make our parts for our stands, and we're sourcing the wood, and working through making this a real product. And kind of skipping forward a little here. So we're still doing pretty well right now. Like we've actually got some products out there, some beautiful shots, and I think we've made a lot of really great parts. And moving on to some packaging, but just some concepts. And then came second lockdown. So it was like, you know, from one lockdown to not seeing many people, and then boom, second lockdown. Second lockdown came, we've got our electronics, which was fantastic. But again, I was in the garage making things without being able to be near people. And it's like, so it kind of spent a lot of time making stuff. And I think my kids thought that my other child was a CNC machine. So yeah, I think, you know, I learned from my father about making things, and I think my kids are probably going to learn about making products as well. This is actually our very first production in our house, in our basement, that we got out to customers. And so the first batches was made at home during lockdown and ready to deliver. And I think that was a pretty hard point in time of just working nonstop. What we didn't think, but until we actually went out here, we launched this product and we went out there, but we were really close now. But we had some issues at this point. Like when we put our first product out there, like, I'll just be honest with everyone, like we had some problems and we had some issues with our sensor. And we thought we designed a sensor that was better, and we'd been testing in the winter months. And in the winter months, the sun in Denmark is not so bright, and things, you know, just don't shine as intensively. And so this is now out testing our product. I know it looks nice, but we're actually testing the product in the sun to try and get some sun sense testing, because we had like some things before where the sun would go off, and we had to figure out a solution. And a lot of testing in different sun things, and thankfully we found a really good solution for that. And we have a really good sensor now that we think works well. We still believe we can, you know, there's a lot of innovation that can still be done in sensing, but we think we did better. But the next step is that when you start making thousands of parts, is you realize you run out of space pretty fast. So we've got a couple of things happening. We're running out of space, and we've got some things where we haven't instructed people correctly. So unfortunately, we end up having to rework a lot of products. And the good thing is that we figured out at this point, hey, it's opening up in Denmark. We got to move. We need to palletize a product, and we can't do things in a small office in Copenhagen. We still don't think that we're at a place now where, you know, we can scale up where we'd like to be. So we're talking with other companies that are doing all manufacturing about scaling up for us. But right now, to give you the story about where we are right now, is that we actually have in our place. I think I should just take you on a little tour here where we are, because I think it's nice to keep things live. So if we go into our little area over here. So I talked before about just having where we got to with our product, where we went for stage 2. We ended up with having, you know, all these different prototype parts before we could actually get something to work really well. And these are not all of them. These are just some of the ones that I pulled up here. And then where we are out here, we actually don't have the guys. Oh, we've got, hey Thomas. So we've got here like some of the parts. So this is our little production area they have now. And I think getting things in pallets and setting up a production area has been fantastic. And then also getting the CNC machine out of the office at home and actually having it set up properly in a workshop in our machine room in here has been like a huge lift for us. And I think right now we actually can produce a lot more products, and we don't need to do it from home anymore. So I think like things are definitely on the up. I think as we've been like with the product area that we're in with this, because it is what started out to be Corona product, I would say, like trying to meet a need. We've been testing like to see, okay, how relevant are we still? Like, you know, like I know in Australia, you guys have been in lockdown, still in Denmark right now. It feels like we're on the other side of the lockdown where the vaccination numbers are high. We can all be together. We can all work together. We can all, we have this production set up here in Denmark, and things are going quite well. I think that we've actually taken our product now to a design trade fair, and we've hired some other people on our team, so it's great. Now we've got like Julia on marketing and Camilla helping us with our bookkeeping, and we have 3 guys in production helping us putting products together. So we have like a growing team, and I think that's a nice place to be. We went to a trade fair. You can see the screen now, right? Oh yeah. So so this was our first semester we went to, and we actually went there thinking, hey, are we still relevant? Like, do people still need our product? And we had actually really good feedback, and that was like a great thing. And people were like, okay, this is it, and your product works. You're reducing single-use plastics. You fit into this new world of dispensing, and also for soap and everything. So we actually had a lot of people want to buy our product. So that was a really great thing. We also tested it at our we have some friends that started a festival, and I guess the last place the dispenser would be at the stand at the entrance of a festival. But here we are at the very first festival in Copenhagen, and we were at the entrance for the Tomorrow Festival. And I thought, okay, if we're going to test a product, what a great place to test a product at a festival where people like they go there for these days and they really use and abuse. And I was gave us all a lot of confidence that nothing broke, everything worked, everything kept working, and the units were there, are still here, like behind me now, and they still work perfectly. So I think for me, this is a good test. Like, the product works. It's a pretty simple thing. Like, only has to dispense a liquid, but actually just dispensing a liquid every time, keeping the batteries level down. Like, we could have easily gone into this project at the start and put big batteries on it and a big motor, a big sensor, and used a lot of batteries that you throw away all the time. But we want to do something that lasts a long time, uses a little energy, and reduce consumable. So, which is the single-use plastics you see in the other ones. I think since then it's kind of nice. We've got we've been to other festivals, and I think as Oya mentioned before, we were pretty proud that we won the Good Design Award last week, because that was nice. And we just showing a photo where we got the friends at PP Mublos. I thought it was fantastic. They actually used it out of their place, so I was proud about that. So our product is relevant and it is being used, and I think that's nice. So I think at this point we should take any questions, or
yes.
What do you think, Oya?
Yes, fantastic. Great story. Okay. Thanks for sharing with us, Drew. There's a question actually from Jannike. Jannike is also one of our graduates, and she's asking about, she's saying, Drew, really cool to get to hear the details of your process, highs and lows. Thank you for sharing. A very practical question from me in Norway. What type of program do you prefer to use for CAD, for 3D printing?
Siemens NX. So we use pretty straight answer. we use Siemens NX. I've used a lot of the software. I know, like, Charlie used SolidWorks when he was at university, and a lot of guys start with us coming from SolidWorks. But we use Siemens NX because I used it at Breville, and it's a very expensive software, but it's also very good. And I find that I've looked into going and using SolidWorks or Pro-E, but I just find Siemens NX so much faster, and I got so many more tools that I don't have in SolidWorks. I think they're both fantastic programs, but we use Siemens NX. So yeah. And I think, to reiterate on that, I've actually Fusion is actually pretty good too. Like Fusion 360 is a pretty good software. We use Fusion 360 for our CNC work now. like when we're printing, I just think all the printing stuff, there's so many printers you buy have a good, you know, mate for making the printing files. But I think that Fusion 360, if you're just getting into CAD stuff, it's pretty good for the price. Like it's a good entry level. It's really good where you can swap between computers. So that's where we're at.
Yes, and so there's a comment in the chat at the moment from Eugene, and he says, this is the epitome of the saying, when life gives you lemons, which he means COVID-19, you make lemonade. Thanks, Eugene.
Thanks.
Eric is asking, Siemens NX particularly for curves?
What's that, sorry? Siemens?
The software, I guess Siemens NX particularly for curves. Is it particularly good for curves?
Yeah, it's really it's good. Yeah, I think like Charlie, I think not that many people I meet here know Siemens NX, but then when you dive into it, a lot of the big players use Siemens NX. Like SpaceX makes all their stuff in Siemens NX, and you know all that aeronautical stuff is great for curves, but it's also really good for all the electronics and mechanics and everything else. And I know like Apple makes their computers. I'm sitting here on Apple. Unfortunately, like Siemens NX doesn't run very well on a Mac, but I know they use it for making computers. And like I think there's a lot of big companies out there that use Siemens NX for product development. But I think they could be better at getting student softwares out there to the universities for Siemens NX. I think the other people are probably better at it.
There's another question from Sandy Gant, and he says that Lego was also his dream work, and he's dreaming of working there someday, and he's asking about what was your time like there?
Fantastic. Fantastic. I love working at Lego. I think I got my job at Lego by
oh, we lost you, Drew.
And I offered to work for free, and then they said I was very lucky. I think it was a few years ago, and I didn't work for free, but I got to come to Denmark. And I thought at that point of time, actually, you could be in. I actually said I'll live in Sweden and work at Lego, and I didn't realize it's a couple of islands away. Like it takes like 4 hours to actually get between Lego and Sweden. So like Lego looked after me. Lego got me an apartment, and it was actually an awesome introduction to the design world in Europe, because I met so many people and from all over the world that work for Lego, and so many talented designers and stuff. So I really appreciate the time at Lego. So yeah, I think one of our interns, Javier, he's now he was an intern here also during the Corona time, and he's now at Lego. So I think it's a good company, it's a good place, and they work well with young people. So at Lego.
That sounds amazing. Another question from Nancy. She says, can you talk a little bit about the process of dropping the circular format you showed at the beginning?
Yeah, sure. I guess it's behind the scenes here. It's not over. It just might come back. I think like everything's in a process in time. We went with the two ones at the start, and I thought that, you know, we could do these two things in parallel. But as the project evolved and things got more and more, how many things we need to find solutions for? Like it's continually, you know, you continually in design get presented with a problem, and you've got to find a solution, a problem, a solution, a problem, a solution. I think that all of a sudden, when we're doing it in both circular and the long form, we needed to choose. And we actually chose by going and asking the people that we could ask. And we started presenting people with the circle one and the long one. And the reason that we chose the long one is our feedback we had from the market, that people could recognize it as being a dispenser. And I think that was really important, because the problem with the circle one is it could look like, some people comment it could be an alarm, a fire alarm, like it's a bit like, you know, we entered it as being this stop thing, but really wanted to create a product that would be welcoming when you enter a space, not stop, don't go in here. And I think that was the reason that we decided to take this more dispenser-like iconic form and make it a bit softer, a bit more welcoming, a bit more inviting, make it from materials that they're not normally made from, and make it as something that when you go into a space, and especially if that a lot of our customers, they care about interior, they care about how it feels when you enter their world, like their restaurant, their hotel, or the space they enter. That's the built environment that they create. They want to tell this story. So that was why it was so. That's why we went down the path we did, because we thought it fitted the product the best and gave a welcoming impression when you enter the space.
Yes, form is important. There's
Yes,
another question from Anna-Marie. She says, "Hi, Drew, thanks for sharing. How did you fund this project? As a consultancy, how much of your work is your own design and how much for clients who fund their projects?"
We work, so I guess I frame this, we work always as a consultancy on projects. Actually, leading up to the Corona lockdown, we always had a dream, Maria and I, of having a company together. And we always had a dream of doing products together. I can bring in the photo, Maria, sitting right next to me. So she's a bit more shy about being on the, but we always had a dream of doing a company together. And Wahl&Ross is, Wahlberg comes from Maria's last name and Ross from Rosskelly, my last name. So that was the vision to start. And Maria has been working for some players, the big companies like such as Apple in her last job doing marketing. And we and the idea was that Maria was always going to be the marketing role and I was going to be the technical design production guy. And before Corona, we started doing other products, wireless power products, these other things. We designed a whole lot of other stuff. And at the same time, we always worked consulting for people and getting paid. And when Corona hit, all of our clients kind of at the same time went, oh, we either have to reduce the amount of money that you get paid or we just have to stop the project. So it was just like a big kick for us to like, okay, we've got to do this to keep the guys employed, to make sure that like, we don't have to fire anybody. And the way we got funded is we funded this project on our own. We sold our summer house and we self-funded Maria and I. So that's reality. So we would have liked to have got funding from somewhere else, but we didn't. And it's all funded internally. So
it's a big sacrifice.
But we still, but we still work. But what happened actually after that lockdown? It took 1 month or something, and then all the clients came back on. So actually, during the whole time that we've been doing this, we've still been working for clients all the time. And so, it's 8 hours a day of client work and another 8 or 10 hours a day of our own projects. So I kind of just sacrifice sleep. I think it's probably not very healthy, but kind of just the reality. So so maybe just there'll be a few years left shorter on the life at the end or something, but hopefully not. Yeah. So, but I guess the last year's just been a lot of work and not a lot of sleep. So
this is obviously paying off. So good investment of your time and money.
Yeah.
So I continue reading the chat. So Eric Wong is making a comment. He says, "Wow, thank you. Did you know? I didn't know Apple designed their own Siemens NX." That's just a comment for the previous question.
Let me just say I don't know that Apple uses Siemens NX. I just know that I've been told by other people that they use Siemens NX. So no one knows what Apple does. I don't know anything. No one knows. So, but I know that I know that like SpaceX is pretty vocal about they use Siemens NX and a lot of other of these aerospace companies and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. This is from Martin Chong. "Hey, Drew, congratulations on a beautiful design and a great sustainability story. What was the brief from a functional point of view in terms of improvements over existing dispensers? Example, consistency of squirt, etc."
Yeah, so like we we actually, the first thing we do is we got a lot of products. We got everything we could at that time. We actually end up having to buy off the secondhand market because all the dispensers were getting bought at the start of the corona, and we got some new products and other ones that were secondhand products. We found that the problem with the existing products that we wanted to improve, one was the time, that how fast their delivery was. One is like dispensing every time, not like sometimes, like every time you put your hand in, it needs to dispense and it needs to do it within this like 1 second. And that's kind of the reason we've gone with the pump solution that we have now. Like a lot of the other ones, you'll use them and you'll hear this, which is like the motor grinding over that, like, so it delivers with like our very first version when we had a piston that went forward and back. And now, like with our one, we wanted to make sure that one of the things, so like, I don't know, can you see this? It's so we have like our dispensing is really fast. So it's like as soon as you put your hand in, it dispenses and it's silent. And so that was one of the things I would like to have done in, because of course we created our own brief. I wanted to be, we wanted to be like welcoming when you entered. We wanted to be reducing single-use plastics. We wanted to deliver every time and deliver fast. And then we called an expert to find out about these other improvements over other products, and that was John in Australia. And that was, he suggested, because before this it was pump bottles and, you know, refilling pump bottles, and so having like a really large opening in the top that you can actually like to do refilling, so you don't have a small opening. The other thing was like going and talking to different people would be that you want to have something so you can refill multiple of them at the same time. So we made it so the product sits on the table and you can have a maybe, oh, you can see that, yeah. So, you know, they sit on the table, you can refill them. We have a refill station, and then you okay, Maria's got a little one of the parts of the refill station here. So if you have a bigger company, and then we have also these whole refill system we've created that you can refill if you have a hotel, a lot of them at a time, and have them on a trolley. And then also, like for smaller places, part of the brief was we found out that some of these bottles were getting thrown out prematurely, because if you have a restaurant with a sitting of, let's say a lot of people have like 40 people that come into the restaurant for a sitting, and they might use like half the bottle or 3/4 of the bottle during the service, and then they would have to, if with these ones that weren't refillable, they would have to take it away and then get a whole new bottle in. I was like, okay, well, what about if for a small place we made it so you can actually just keep it at the dispenser and you can just top it up. So like the top up thing's pretty easy. The other thing is the I guess one of our briefs was we wanted to be able to, the old business model in dispensing is they call them a money box, where you basically you can put them on a wall and the business is built around selling this plastic bottle. We don't want to do that. We wanted to have a totally different way of having a product where we don't sell the plastic bottle, and we let people use their own liquid or their own solution, whatever it is. So, you know, the gel or if some people like gel and some people like spray and some people like liquid. And we said, okay, why not let people like choose whatever they want with a refill system? Then people could do that. But one of the things was then you've got to be able to control the dosage. So we have in the back of the product, we have a dosage setting that basically, maybe you can show that, Marie. Oh, you can see it there, yeah. So basically you can set it on the doses. So we have like at the bottom scale, we have like around 1 milliliter, 1.5 milliliters and 2 milliliters. And then we have for dosing 4 and 5, we have for gels. So then it can deliver whatever liquid you want and whatever dosage you want. So there's some variable that's in the scale of the amount of liquid. Other things, part of the brief, like cleaning, like so important. If you're going to make a product, it needs, it's a hygiene product. It has to be easy to clean. And that was actually why we've made everything just round and soft. Like we also think it looks nice being round and soft, but it was also so everything, there's no edges. Everything can be wiped over. Everything can be clean. There's no small corners. When you're filling the product, like if you are, we made it so the tray, when it opens at the front, if you were doing a refill and you were actually like doing a top up, and if you did spill anything, I'm just going to spill some to show the idea. If something did spill in the tray, when you close the tray, we don't want anything going on the floor. So we make it so that any spilt liquid ends up in the drip tray. So there's no drips going around. Then the drip tray itself is removable and that can be put in the dishwasher. So if someone has like a hotel with a lot of them, they can just put them all in the dishwasher. That's the idea. The nozzle is also removable. So like part of that whole brief on like a cleanability is if there's anything, cleanability and longevity of life, like too often I see products break because they can't be maintained properly. So we wanted to create something that you could actually, take out the nozzle and clean it and clean all the parts. The other part of the brief is modular design for maintenance. So that the products, let's put this back on again. You can have this more. I'll show that. If I go over here, I can show you the other thing, like about modularity and maintenance. I think so important is spare parts. So like if something breaks, like we need to be able to service this and service it fast. So we have like our pumping unit is like a small module. And like all of the other parts of the unit, which is more out here, we made everything in modules that can be serviced and things that are, it's something here. So you actually can clip it together, and there are no screws for servicing. So everything just snaps together, but snaps that actually are designed for service and designed for fast service, and so that if anything ever goes wrong, we can fix it and we don't throw it away. And we want we like to design that in all products we make for customers of any project. We always try to have long life, serviceability, and reducing throwaway parts and reducing consumables. And I think all designers should do that now. It would just be stupid if you didn't do that. Like, yeah.
Amazing level of detail resolution. Fantastic. Thank you, Drew. There's 16 more questions, so I'll just quickly go through them. Nicholas Sonoma asks, he says, "Hi, Drew, nice one. When you're designing the stand for the sanitizer, was it the hardest area to hide it, or what is the hardest part to design of all?"
Stand? The stand's actually, if you're talking about the stand, the metal pole stand, it was actually really difficult. Like, it looks like a very simple thing, but do we have any of the stands here that we can show? Maybe I think like there is like there's maybe I can just show it here. Like you have the product and you have this pole, and the pole looks pretty simple, but getting the pole simple and working every time is a challenge, because when if you want the product to sit like, we want it to sit central over the pole. And then you have this thing, okay, you need to make it so that people can actually assemble every time, that it can be flat packed and assembled. And we looked into what it is to halve the pole and ship the pole. And we, at the moment, we actually ship the long pole is shipped in a flat pack with the base. And we've looked into like halving the pole, but at the moment it works out for the shipping to be the same to do with a long pole, and the long pole has less parts, and less parts means less waste. So we've chosen now to go with one singular long pole and with a flat base, and then making a special little part on the base. Maybe Marie grab it for me. I think the jump back out here again. The pole, like the stand itself, it Marie's gone to grab it now. But the Yeah, there's basically we've designed a special nut in the bottom to make sure it always assembles straight, and you can't put it on in any other direction. So yeah, that's kind of the details of the stand itself. I think we don't have any of the new packaging here to show you. We also dive a lot into that in the stand, because like sending this stand out means like you have to have packaging. The packaging has to be like not very wasteful. Actually, Maria, could you get the box for our packaging box? We've tried to make all of our packaging as minimal as it can be, and and ship the product as safe as it can be, because like we actually had problems with our initial packaging, that it just didn't protect the product well enough. If we got things damaged, it's terrible. Then you end up having a throwaway product, and you're doing something worse for the environment by just not creating a good box. And I don't have the ones here for the stand now, but I just maybe could you grab one of the packaging really with the product in it? And we can come back to that one. Yeah. Was there another question?
Yes, there are, I think, 16 more questions. It's 7:09, so I'm conscious about the time. You got your box.
Oh, can I just show you quickly? Because
yeah.
Maybe that one, Maria. I think it's kind of important for me. Is like actually, I'd like to just two things to take for a project for any younger designer is don't forget your packaging, because it actually means a lot to your product. And don't forget all the details you need to put in, like all the electronic cables and stuff. I think we could have gone to market faster if we had like we always did all the screws and things, but at the start of the project, we didn't put the cables in our 3D, and we should have put every cable, like because they all have to go into a product to make it a reality. I was just going to show you our packaging in our box. We use a simple card box. And I like the fact that we've got this, it's a waste piece of, it's foam that's made from old beds that are, or not beds, made from, what's it called, mattresses. Yeah, so recycled mattress foam, and then like just keeping it quite simple in like the box part, where we don't use a lot of cardboard, or we don't use a lot of things. These we're saying to people, like, these could actually go back. If we were to take them back again, we could use them again. And then just very simple packaging to protect the product. But yeah, probably not the best thing to show online, but I quite like the box now that it actually works and very simply protects the product. So okay,
fantastic. Next question. Robert Ma is asking, what commercial challenges did you overlook or underestimate along the way? And the second one is, what are your thoughts for the next evolution of the project or the product?
Yeah, so I think commercial challenges we can start with a lot. Like I think funding all the way is difficult. Like you've got to, if you're self-funding and you actually need to work all the time, because you have to work 2 jobs at the same time. I think that's like one commercial challenge that, and then the second one is when you go to actually sell a product, like knowing the margins that everybody needs in the market. Like, so knowing what we've learned a lot about and what we still are not experts at, like we're continually evolving and trying to be better than what we were yesterday. We're definitely not experts at anything specifically, but like I think like the constant evolution, and we're getting a rapid amount of knowledge about margins and what people need to run their business and who we sell to, and I think that's the pricing of a product is something that is difficult, and as a designer, it's a hard thing to know what people, what price you should sell for, what price the customer's able to pay. What discount everybody wants to have, or what everyone needs to run their business. So I think the other thing is like the online store, like having an online store. I think that's another area challenge, and just continually like updating that content that you need online. So I think having people on your team that can do those things is really critical. The other question was about what's coming next. I just say watch this space. We're already working on something. We have another product. I don't want to give away everything. We are a design company, so but I just say that we discovered a lot of things that need innovation, and so we seen a lot of new ideas and new things to make better products along the way, and so we are coming out with something. So it's watch that space. Yeah,
sounds very good.
Yeah.
So the next question, Drew, is from Iram Izer, and she's asking, and she says, "Hi everyone, thanks for arranging such an event. Thank you, Drew, for the detailed explanation of the process. I have a question about the user testing phase. Did you ever consider testing the product with a target group that has never been involved with the design process before going into mass production?"
I think it's a good question. I think it's always good to and test it out with users before going into mass production. We did do that in terms of we actually put our beta versions that were 3D printed versions out into restaurants. So the first ones that we put out there was actually a well, we're good friends with the guys at Noma Restaurant, and they opened a burger bar, and we considered them a customer, and we put one of our beta versions out there for their opening night, and that was like a good test to see, okay, do people understand our product? Could they use our product? Was it, you know, a success or a failure? And on opening night, everything went really well, and I think in the next day everything went well, but like I've said before, actually after those few days, we failed because of the sun issue. And we also found some other problems with our product, like some details that were not working very well, or things that were breaking in the drip tray and those things. So I think user testing before you go to production is a great thing, and you learn so much from it. The other thing Marie's just reminded me about is user testing. There's the user testing as in people being able to use your product and how people see your product. There's also the user testing environment. Marie's reminded me a lot. We actually, some from the first user testing, we failed on the environmental testing because we started out with it being in warm months and everything went perfectly. And it wasn't until we actually got, and you know, that was on printed parts, and then we went to production parts and things started to fail, and we didn't know why, and we couldn't figure out what was happening. And it was actually because it got cold, and when it gets cold, things change, and batteries die faster. What we have in our liquid is glycerine, and we don't control the glycerine that our users have in it. So different users would put different, if it's gels or it's like other liquids in it. Glycerine actually, with temperature, it solidifies rapidly. And so what happens is it puts a lot of load on your pump system. So like I think user testing and environmental testing is really important. And we actually needed to redesign our pump again, and redesign our motor and our motor specification based on environmental testing. So I think it's a good point, and we did do it, and I think but probably not very as formally. We kind of do things where we just go out and put them in places and let people use them, and actually more visually watch and inspect and see people use it. From that, we don't document with video or write things down. I think it's very observatory testing, and when things go wrong, in my experience, they go wrong pretty fast. Like, you see something pretty fast. If someone can't use a product, you just see it. It's like, oh, I should have done better there. Like it's quite obvious, I think.
Yeah. And Anjali is asking a related question. She would like to know more about user experience of the product.
Okay.
I think you've answered some of it. Yep.
Yeah. Anything I didn't cover on user experience? I think, in honesty, it's okay. I think there's some things we could make better about our product. I think it actually right now, like we're getting people buying it as a soap dispenser. I think that in honesty, it would be nice as a soap dispenser to be a little bit smaller. I think like it works okay. in the setting. If it's on the stand, it also works okay on a wall. But if you go into a smaller bathroom, I think it would be nicer if it was a little bit smaller factor. We went fast on the pump. Some user come back and said that they thought it was too fast. So I think, but we're kind of staying our ground on the speed that we deliver our product. We actually, before we were faster, we had actually the rate we are now is better. So I think I would say test, and then test more. And like test with people, test in. We have, like, I didn't show you out here, but we also have like a testing setup where we have a lot of them in an array that is running, but it's turned off at the moment. Yeah, so testing and user testing for sure.
I keep going with the question. So this one is from Eldem Rehber, and he's asking about the form, and he says that the form is very simplistic and smooth. And the question is, how did you come up with this form, and how were you sure it would work?
I think I'll put that one to Maria. Yeah. I think I'll bring it over to Maria, because like Maria had a lot to do with the form as well. I think like we kind of researched the form a little bit on what was coming into trend at the time.
We did a lot of trend research prior to this project, actually, for different projects, and on that we had a knowledge base already, so it's quite easy for us to choose the shapes that we wanted to go for. There's of course some physical limitations, because we have to have 1/2 liter bottle in there, we have to have some electronics, we do know we have to have a sensor, it has to sit in a certain place. We knew we wanted to, the way we wanted to build it, you can choose to put the liquid to come up at the top or down the bottom, and we had kind of those basics we fleshed out pretty early. And then we wanted to make it really close to the wall. That was the thing we thought was great. We made that as the first prototype, and it was about 1 centimeter off the wall, and it was terrible because you kept hitting your hand into the wall. So we had to, of course, make some changes, alterations to that, and that's how the shape on the back came about. If you see it this way, you can actually see here you've got like a bit of a wide part here, and this is where the motor sits, and obviously the bottle sits in here, and that's how that came about. The fact that it is so wide or out from the wall turned out to be really good, because that also fits more of our electronics. Yeah. So it's kind of came about that way. And we do believe that we've achieved a form which is really beautiful, and it is very functional as well.
Just the form started, and when it was close to the wall, the form actually started like this. So it was a wooden block with a circle and a shape that we wanted it to be easy to clean, like we said before, and something we thought this could be the longer version. And you know, when you put it right up against the wall, we thought, hey, this is a real innovation, until people actually started to go to use it, and you just, what Maria was saying, you couldn't get your hand in underneath it. So it was a design oversight that we discovered in usability testing. So that's why it became further out off the wall.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Thank you, Maria, as well. There's a question from Doug Nash. Hi, Doug. And he's saying, hey, Drew, what would you say is the difference between doing your own design work versus designing for a brand like Lego or Breville?
I think it's the same, to be honest. I actually think all projects are the same. I think all projects, you, as a designer, you know, Doug, like you get given a challenge, and you first you want to do is like you do some research, and then, you know, just like we do at Breville, find an expert. I would say, you know, all projects, no matter what it is, you get a challenge, you do some research. Part of that research phase, I always try to find an expert, and then you start doing concepts and things into it. And I think whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for a customer, for me, actually, it's the same. I still dive the same depth. You still dream about it. You still think about it all the time. I know that we have projects with you guys now, and I dream about it and think about it. I actually think it's the same. It's I think the process is the same. I think the difficult part about doing your own project is not having the funding behind all the things you make. You just have to keep coming out of your own personal money and taking more of your time away from your kids and the weekends and your family, really. So, but in terms of like depth that you go into, I think it's the same. So I think I actually always thought I wanted to design surfboards or, you know, fun things I like to do. And then I realized over the years we design things for other customers, like no matter what it is and whatever the project is, you just go in and you just dive in deep, and then you just get you find out the problem, and it's more about the process than and finding the solution to whatever the problem is. I think for whoever the customer is, I think that's the challenge that's fun, and that's the thing that all designers like to do. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Doug.
I hope it did. Great answer. There's a comment here from VCXI. Not sure who that is, but he says, Drew, big props for undertaking this project and keeping your employees working and paid, risking your own savings in the process. A lot of companies could learn from this instead of bowing to their stakeholders and laying off workers. Nice work, mate. That's a comment.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Michael Turangud, he's asking, amazing work. Just wondering if you could help share some thoughts on the timber species selection and how it's finished. Important considerations for the application. And then he says, well done to the team.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Right now we use locally sourced oak. We made that decision last year. Like we've been making a lot of things in oak over the last few years. We have like we've worked in different products in oak. We know how it works. We know about the material. I know how to like CNC it down to quite thin wall sections. I think yes. It's actually been a quite big challenge to try and make something out of oak with such thin wall sections. I think like we've tried to be as minimal in wastage as we could possibly be. Like we actually we love working with timber, but we also think you need to be respectful about the material and the wastage that you use. I think we like the fact that we've created something that people can last for a long time. The treatment on it is lacquered. So like we do CNC it, and we like CNC it so it's very thin. And that's a pretty big challenge. We try to make them from pieces where we have minimal waste. So the pieces right now, they actually are they have a glue line here, as you can sort of see there. Like we have them so that they minimal waste and minimal breakage. You can't really see it kind of if it's done properly, you can't tell that much, but there is a glue line, and I could have made them from one piece, but you'll get more wastage if you make them from one piece, because what happens with one piece of timber, it always wants to be a tree. And if you put two bits together and you do a glue line, you can make it so that you won't get this effect as much, and you also can get it so the grain structure's in the right direction, so you won't get as much breakage on it. So you can actually keep stronger, smaller sections of wood. We've learned a lot about making things. Let me just grab something else. We don't only make things in oak. I mean, we've been making these this was in the restaurant Noma for a few years, but these like quite small wooden spoons, and like as part of this, it's learning by making about like the way that the grain structures need to be. You need to be respectful of the tree so that you so it doesn't break and it's strong. Like if you end up putting the wrong way, it just falls apart. Like if this goes the wrong way, all the tips will just break off it, or the handle will break. But I think I have to say, like the whole the wood thing, I think that's very important that it's a product for us. It makes a product that people care about and then lasts. But I also am considerate about like the oak tree itself. I think that I actually we're looking into making it out of some other tree products now as well. Like I think that I don't see us continuing to make them in oak. I kind of love oak trees. I think that we're trying now with some other tree varieties. So like some pine tree ones and some other tree species. Like I think it's nice for the tree because it's warm and welcoming and it's this natural material. But I'm also really considerate about like our impact and what we do and what our waste is. And I think that we've put up the price of the oak products, actually, to be honest, and so they cost more. And I don't know how many more we'll keep making in oak species of tree. That's the honest truth. So yeah.
Great answer. So I keep going. There's, I think, 2 or 3 more questions left, and then we'll stop. Karen Yevenes is asking, she's first saying, thank you, Drew, for sharing the story of this thoughtful product. Really enjoyed seeing the hard work and lateral thinking to bring the dispenser to life. Modularity, maintenance, and repair are also important for all design things. Congratulations on the Design Awards. Oh, sorry, that wasn't a question, but that's a nice thing to hear. What an achievement. Then Natua, he's also thanking you for an amazing insight and congratulates you for the award. As someone who is still early in the industry, are there any key learnings or tips you would recommend to help reduce incorrect production or assembly of products parts from offshore manufacturers?
The question was, how do you reduce problems? I think if it was about with offshore manufacturers, I would say know your manufacturer, and it's like it doesn't matter if they're a local person around the corner or they're someone overseas. We work with people both locally and internationally. I think for me, with any young designer, I would say be respectful, be knowledgeable about the process, like become friends, like be open and be transparent and work through it together. Like if with making anything, it's a process of 2, 3, 4 people coming together and and forming and collaborating. It's really important, I would say, for all young designers to be respectful of the process, be respectful of the people that you work with, and make great stuff together. And I think the more you communicate, the less problems that you'll have and the less things that'll go wrong. And I think just stay open in communication, share, and make great things together. So, yeah.
Thank you. There's a question from Min Kong. Hi, Min. She says, thanks, Drew. It's an amazing product story and is an amazing product. I would love to try it one day. Love the sustainable approach to the dispenser. Would you consider using wood waste 3D printer for the timber part? It might not have the same fidelity.
Waste 3D with the wooden part. We've made stuff in 3D printing things before. We've also made stuff in like the if you say wood waste, like where it's basically a PLA with a wood fella. We have done that before. I think that the issue with that product right now is that with the 3D printing materials is the value that it adds to the product. I think 3D printing has a lot of potential to add value to products. And I think if you use it the right way, then you can add a value to a product. I think that, but you also need to be, I think, wary of 3D printing isn't the answer to everything. Like we've been kind of involved in 3D printing now for 15 years or something like that, like quite a long time. And we think 3D printing is an amazing technology, but it's not the answer for me for everything. I actually think some old school manufacturing is sometimes better when you're going to multiply lots of parts. Like the reason that just say for a lot of people are trying to do metal printing in for some parts, but the reality is like some of these parts they're suggesting for metal printing, it's actually a lot better to do deep drawing, a lot better to do like MIMS processing, or let's say for instance like casting or things, or traditional sand casting. I think for our front covers we actually are looking for doing different materials. I think it's a really valid point, like finding another material to make it out of is a great idea, and I'm open to ideas about what we could make the front covers in for sure. So thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, I don't know whether you've seen what Yves Behar have created, but I think it's, you know, designing for that sustainability, you know, type of idea. So that's where what I was just thinking. I mean, the wood looks beautiful, but like you said, you know, we'd love to see the trees, right? Yeah,
I'd love to. If you've got an idea, I'd love to. If you could show me your thoughts, it'd be awesome. What was it? Were you saying, was it wood and in 3D printing, or what was the idea?
Yeah. So it's a wood waste that you use to print. So instead of using plastic, it uses wood waste, and it's all sustainable. I think it just uses sap.
What's the binder?
Sap.
Ah, awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to try it.
Yeah, so I think I think it's called Frost or something. Yeah, so I'm sure you can look into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I didn't know that one. So I haven't seen it with a sap binder, but that sounds great.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks.
Two last questions, I hope. Yes, the two last questions. One is about intellectual property from Eduardo Sandoval, and he says, what any recommendations about intellectual property, when to do so, when to protect the products, basically.
Before you go public.
Before you get public, of course.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple answer to that. The rules are pretty strict. You can't protect anything. If you go public and you start showing things, you after that point you can't protect. So always do your development work and do your applications for your patents and everything. Like all the things has to be done under NDA, and then you know we hire a patent lawyer, patent attorney, and then and so I think there's on our product we have both patent registrations, and we have sort of an IP around the working parts of the system, and we have design registrations. So the design registrations, you get a little bit more freedom in the timing, and the technical patent things you have to do before you disclose anything to anybody. So that's pretty straight answer on that one.
Thank you. And this is the last question. It says, thank you. Oh, there's another question that popped up. Thank you for the amazing presentation. What do you think about the post-COVID era for product design? Will it continue to be shaped on products and services based on personal health and hygiene? What are the potentials of the post-COVID era for product designers worldwide? Big question.
One second, I just kind of I lost half of that.
Oh, you lost it.
Did you just say yeah? Can we just what was?
I read
repeat
again.
Oh, it's this the last part. What was the?
Will it continue to be shaped on products and services based on personal health and hygiene? What are the potentials in the post-COVID era for product designers worldwide?
I don't know. I think I don't think everything keeps evolving. Like, to be honest, I think the challenges are going to keep changing. I think that for me, I think like post-COVID era, like I think we're going to have continually new challenges. I think it's COVID for me is something that's happened and we don't know how long it's going to be around for. I think that as a product designer, we're going to keep on getting challenges in different areas, and I don't think a dispenser is the only area. Yeah, I think like for me, environmental focus is like the key one move. I think actually for us before coronavirus, everything we were trying to do was actually there was a big push on sustainability. Like, a lot of people went down to Milan, everyone was making stuff from waste plastics. It was all like, let's figure out how to make a better world here. Let's figure this out. And then all of a sudden, Corona came as like a slap in the face, and it was like, whoa, all of a sudden we're like gone from reducing plastics to putting plastic masks on like 2, 3, 4 a day and having all these bottles and all these things. I was just like, the amount of waste that I think COVID has created has been crazy. I think as designers, we need to get back to where we were before. And I think everyone's kind of doing that in the circles that we're in now, is just trying to design products that are more thoughtful, respectful environment, trying to do things better. Like, I think post-COVID, I think we're just going to enter this world now where right now, a lot of people are talking about their sustainability challenge they're doing. They're talking about like how, their company does better and what they do better. But I just think moving forward, it's just going to be inherent. Like, the future won't be talking about how we did a green product or something. Like, it'll just be inherent to every product you do. It has to be better. It has to do something better. It has to reduce. It has to be thoughtful, and that'll just be part of the whole process. And if you don't do that, I don't think you will have a future as a industrial designer or a company that makes products. I just think you got to reduce the energy that we all use. We have to reduce our waste, and we have to make things that last. And I think that, like, this 80s style era of wastefulness, and even the 90s and things, and early 2000s, I think that we'll just have to, as designers, get better at being better at our job and making better products.
Thank you so much, Drew. That was the last question.
Okay.
Unbelievably insightful answers, and thank you so much for sharing your passion, your experience through this. A heartfelt thank you from all of us to you and your team for your amazing story, and for being so generous in sharing with all of us your journey. And also, I would like to thank all the attendees. You helped us make this evening even more special. Thank you for joining us and for listening. And before everyone goes, this year we still have a second talk in 3 weeks, and it's again one of our alumni that will present one product. And our second guest will be Ross Nichols from Six Simple Machines. He will talk about the Juggler, a product born in 2011 and designed for busy cafe environments. So stay tuned for the invitation to the event, and we are all looking forward to seeing you again joining us. But until then, stay safe and well, and goodbye from all our team here. Thanks again, Drew and your team.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all the thanks for including us. We're honored. So thanks. It's great to see all your faces again and everything. It's I love it. So thanks for including us. And
we loved having you. We're so proud of you, Drew.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Drew.
It was amazing.
Okay,
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Drew. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Anne-Marie.
Oh, hello, Anne-Marie. Hello.
I had my 3 girls watching you.
Oh,
Was-
fantastic.
awesome.
Look at them.
Awesome.
Project.
Beautiful girls.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I like the hills
Wow.
hoist in the backyard, Drew.
Okay.
But remember your hills,
Sorry?
your hills hoist in the backyard.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
You used to always tell us proudly about the hills hoist.
Yeah, I know. My grandma still talks about that. Maybe she's online now.
Maybe. I saw Sue Rosskelly.
She is Drew
This
for
is Sue
sure.
Rosskelly. Could be your
Yeah,
grandma.
say Peter.
Hey, Drew,
Hey,
you'll have
Mum.
to say hello to grandparents. Grandparents are watching.
Okay. All right. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Drew, again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Yes, I'm just trying to copy the questions. I'd like to keep them.
Hi, Oya. I kept all the questions. I've
Oh,
written.
fantastic. Thank you, Frederick.
Hey, no worries. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
a great presentation. That was awesome. Thank you. Have a good night. Yeah.
Have a good night. Have a lovely day, Drew. It's morning for you. It's night for us.
See you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Drew.
Hi. Thanks.
Smiles.
See ya.
See you.